Hi guys, welcome back to another video. I'm reading Shigaraki Times Reader. I was meaning to post yesterday, but I got busy. Of course I got busy, but whatever. So this is part 5, the first move. Let's just start reading. So yeah, let's do this. Contains fluff. I didn't know how long we were on that rooftop, but when I woke up, I was wrapped in a blanket curled up against Shigaraki. I was hungry, so I got up to look for some food. Shigaraki whined at the sudden loss of my warmth. I put the blanket over him and floated around the bar. I opened every cabinet and drawer, but couldn't find any food. I still have a little bit of money from my allowance from UA, so I scribbled a note telling Shigaraki I'd be back soon. I grabbed his hoodie that was hanging on the back of the chair and went outside. I went to the store and bought some meat buns. I refrained from eating them until I got back to the League's hideout. When I opened the door, I was met with a Shigaraki anxiously pacing the floor and scratching his neck. He looked up at the sound of the door and relaxed a little bit to see me. And he scooped me in a hug and held me tight. Shigaraki, I managed to choke out. Can't breathe. Oops, sorry, he said, putting me down. I smiled up at him and held the bag of meat buns. Look, I got food. I see that, he said, smiling down at me. We both sat down and ate our fill. And when we were done, Shigaraki turned to me and asked again, the perfect chance, but why did you come back? Why? To be completely honest, the thought never occurred to me. I have nowhere to even go if I did leave. Shigaraki stared at me. I guess what I'm saying is you're stuck with me. I smiled at him, my hair bright purple. He suddenly got out of his seat and pulled me out of mine. My eyes were level to his chest, and I looked up at him. He rested his forehead on mine. His hands went to my waist and pulled me closer to him. Shigaraki, I asked, my voice going a little higher than I wanted. My hair changed to a deeper purple as I stared into his eyes. Suddenly, he leaned over and pressed his lips against mine. I was shocked at first, but then I kissed back. I put one hand on the back of his neck and ran the other through his soft blue hair. I pulled myself deeper into the kiss. He was soft and gentle. He moved his hands from my waist to my lower back and pulled me closer until our bodies were pressed against each other. When we pulled apart, I looked into his eyes and saw what I could only describe as love. I could see a blush creeping onto his cheeks as he struggled to control it. I'm sure my blush was clearly visible. He leaned down and placed a soft kiss to my neck. I moved my hands down his back and wrapped him in a hug, laying my head on his chest. He rested his chin on the top of my head and moved his hands up and down my back, running them through my hair. I wanted to get mad at him for kissing me. I wanted to get mad at myself for kissing him back, but I just couldn't. I couldn't be mad. His heartbeat soothed me. When we were wrapped in each other's arms for a long while, suddenly Kawagiri walked through the door, and me and Shigaraki, jumped off each other. He looked at us both, and then to Shigaraki, so what's going on here? He asked skeptically. Nothing, Shigaraki replied a little too fast. Kawagiri looked at us, but didn't ask any more questions. He went behind the bar and cleaned the cups that were already clean. Me and Shigaraki sat at the bar, and Kawagiri have him something alcoholic, and he have handed me a soda. The smell of alcohol was almost enough to make me puke, but I tried not to force it. He slid his hands on my thigh, and I looked up at him. I looked down. His pinky was lifted off my leg of caution of his quirk. I decided that I would get him something to help him. I turned to Kawagiri and got curious. Kawagiri, is your quirk work game? He nodded. So you can transport anything or something? Why? Why do you want to know? I shrugged, just curious. I can transport most things that my work gate can cover. Can you ever get hurt? Can you ever get hurt? What do you mean? Like if I throw this cup at you, would you feel it? I asked, picking up the cup and taking a sip of the soda. Well, I could open a work gate and move the cup somewhere else. Suddenly, I had an evil idea. I picked up my half-empty glass and throwed it as hard as I could into the back of Kawagiri's head. A rocket appeared, and the rest of the soda fell onto my head. Another one appeared right below the cup, and it fell into Kawagiri's open hand. She still hadn't turned around and began cleaning the cup. My hair turned red as I touched my soaked hair. Ow, that hurt, I complained. You shouldn't have attacked someone while their back is turned, he replied, still not turning around. I could hear Shigaraki trying not to laugh. Fine, you're right. I'm sorry, but you didn't have to drop the cup on my head, too, I said as I got up. I could feel the sticky soda running down my face, and I turned to Shigaraki and said, is there a shower I could use? Yeah, follow me, he said, getting up from his chair, leading me down the hall. He led me down the hall to the bathroom. Here it is, he said a little awkwardly. Thank you, I said as I stepped inside, shutting the door behind me. I turned the shower on and got undressed. I stepped into the water and let it run down my face. I let the water soak my hair and run down my back. When I was finished showering, I got out and wrapped a towel around my body. I heard a soft knock on the door. Yes, I said without opening the door. I have some clothes for you, came Shigaraki's voice from the other side. I went over to the door and opened it, just a crack. He was standing there holding a pile of clothes. I didn't know what you like, so I made Toga go pick something out for you. I figured she'd know what girls like, he said. I opened the door a little more, and he gave me the pile of clothes. Thank you, I told him. He nodded and went backed away from the door. I closed it and put the clothes Toga had given. It was a light blue sweater and a black shirt with purple leggings. I changed and dried my hair, looking in the mirror. I actually liked the outfit. Toga did know how to shop. I went back to the bar and caught Shigaraki staring at me. I couldn't help but blush. Toga came running over to me and took both my hands in hers. Oh my gosh, I knew you would look super cute. I told Shiggy that you would love it. Do you? Cause I do. Do you love it? Cause I do, she said, looking so happy and spooky. No, sparkly. And I couldn't help but laugh at the ridiculous nickname she given Shigaraki. She took a step closer to me, and I caught a glimpse of what was in her other hand, a knife. I stepped back, my hair turning green, as I saw the vision of my father in my head. She came closer, and suddenly I tripped and fell backwards. Someone caught me. When I looked up, I saw that it was Dabi. I tried to stand up, but he pulled me closer to him. "So you can't go around trying to cut people," he yelled at her. She looked up, mad at him, but she put the knife away and stomped back over to the couch. I turned to Dabi and thanked him for catching me. He let go of me, and I floated back into the air. "Don't mind her. She's not good with new people," he said, smiling down at me. I managed a weak smile and nodded my head. Still too scared to speak, he took my hand and led me to the bar. I sat between him and Shigaraki. I was grateful that they both would protect me. They both had some sort of alcohol drink in their hand. I buried my face in my sweater so I didn't have to smell it. The night went by and my head bobbed as I yawned. Shigaraki looked over to me and saw how tired I was. "Want to go to bed?" he asked. I nodded my head. He picked me up and carried me to the other room down the hall. He opened the door and I saw shelves with lava lamps of different colors and countless video games. There were torn up all my posters hung on the wall. "Is this Shigaraki's room?" I asked myself. He went over to the bed and laid down. He covered me with a blanket and turned to go. I grabbed his sleeve and pulled him back. I didn't want him to leave. I scooted over in the bed so that he could lay down too. "Sleep with you?" he asked. I nodded my head and he climbed into the bed. I snuggled up to him, letting his scent surround me. I closed my eyes as he wrapped his arms around me. I let him hug me as I listened to the soft beating of his heart. Good night, YN, he said as he kissed the top of my head. I made a happy sound and fell asleep. Part 6. Dabi the babysitter. When I woke up, Shigaraki was gone. Half asleep, I touched the spot where he had been laying. It was cold. He must have left a while ago. I got up and straightened myself out. I floated down the hall sleepily until I came out into the bar. Only Dabi was there, sitting at the bar drinking something. "Where's Shigaraki?" I asked him. "Him and the rest of the league went out to do something, and I got stuck babysitting you," he told me. I got mad and my hair turned red. I don't need a babysitter," I said angrily. He only gave me a laugh and got up from the bar. "Hey, I don't want to be here any more than you do, so let's get along until we get back, okay?" Fine, I said, with a sigh, my hair turning back to purple. So I'm supposed to watch you, so what you want to do?" He clearly not used to watching people. I gave him a shrug. He walked down the hall to the last door and opened it. I followed him inside. The room was dark with more lava lamps, the posters, and other stuff boys like. He turned on the TV and put a game in. It was a first-person shooter game. He offered me a controller and I took it. I didn't know how to play, so I kind of had to figure it out. Dabi put the game on multiplayer, and the screen split in two. We played for a while. I mostly stayed behind Dabi waiting for him to shoot the other players. But once Dabi got shot, and I saw the blood animation drop onto the screen, I dropped my controller and nearly fell onto the floor from where I was floating. My eyes glazed over. My hair turned green. Dabi looked over at the sound of the controller hitting the ground, and he saw me frozen in fear. "Hey, what's wrong?" he asked in a worried tone. I couldn't say anything. I just stared unbelievably, unable to look away from the screen. He looked over at the screen and realization hit him. Shoot, he cursed and turned off the TV. We were left sitting in the dark room. I was still floating there, my legs crossed. Dabi reached for me and pulled me onto the bed with him. I sat beside him. He put his hand over on my shoulder in an effort to comfort me. He was not good at this. My mind was racing of images flashed through my head. I saw my father and his friends. I saw myself in third-person view laying on the floor, bleeding out. I saw all the blood without realizing it. I started to suddenly cry. I felt the hot tears run down my face. Dabi must have saw because he started cursing under his breath, not knowing what to do. He picked me up and carried me back to the bar. He sat me down on the couch and sat next to me, being in some light seemed to help because I started to calm down. I'm sorry, I eventually said. What should I apologize about? Because I'm such a child. I can't even handle the sight of blood that's not even real. No, it's not your fault, Shigaraki. Shigaraki warned me about this, and I completely forgot. I wiped my eyes and looked at him. He looked back at me. We both stared at each other awkwardly for a while. He turned on the small TV on the bar, and we watched some anime for a while. Suddenly, Dabi's phone rang, and he took it out and to look at it. All of a sudden, he got up and started pacing around the room. He was angry, and small blue flames started appearing around him. I got up and tried to stop him from touching anything and setting the whole place on fire. I got in front of him and tried to say something, but he pushed me out of the way. I tried talking to him, trying to calm him down. I placed myself in front of him, making him stop. He slapped me away, hitting my arm. I was floating, so I went pretty far. I held my arm and screamed in pain. Dabi had burned my arm. He stopped pacing and looked at me and at what he had done. Dabi's flashback. Shigaraki and Dabi stood alone in the corner of the bar. Shigaraki was speaking to Dabi. I have some stuff to do, so I'm going to leave you in charge. You also have to watch YN. Oh, so now I'm nothing more than a babysitter, he said angrily. Don't you dare treat her like a child, he said as he moved closer to Dabi. If I come back and she's hurt, I will kill you myself, he threatened. Gee, fine, Dabi said, rolling his eyes. Don't underestimate me. Frequently, I don't like you. I don't trust her with you. I would much rather stay here with her, at least leave her with Kawagiri, but I can't. But I can, and I will kill you if I come back and there is much as a scratch on her. And with that, he left. Flashback. Dabi's POV. I stared in horror at the girl. She was sitting on the floor, too weak to float. I didn't mean to burn her. Her whole upper arm, from her shoulder to her elbow, was burned. The sleeve of her sweater was burned. Where I touched it, and blood was dripping from her wound. Her eyes were tightly shut, but even so, I didn't see the tears dripping down her cheeks. Shoot, no, shoot! I cursed as I ran to get bandages. I ran back over to her and knelt down. Shigaraki's going to kill me, I said as I reached her for her arm. She pulled away at my touch. It's okay. I'm so sorry, I said, trying to hide the panic in my voice. Keep your eyes closed. I'm going to pick you up. Up, up now. She nodded, and I lifted her up. I sat her down on the bar. Her sleeve was in the way of me bandaging her arm. Do you have a shirt underneath your sweater? I asked. She nodded her head, and I lifted the sweater above her head and placed it on the counter. Hold your arm out, I instructed, and she obeyed, wincing at the pain. I cleared the blood off and wrapped her arm in bandages. It's okay. You can open your eyes now. She opened her eyes slowly and looked at her bandaged arm. Thank you, she said, looking up at me. Shigaraki can really kill me now. I said, knowing he actually would. As if on cue, he walked through the door into the bar. And that's the end of the chapter. I left you guys at a cliffhanger. That's great. Poor Dabi. I feel bad for Dabi. Let's hope in the next chapter you actually save Dabi. Or someone at least saves Dabi. Poor Dabi. Okay. Hope you guys enjoyed. Bye.